Hello, it's Paul James here, reporting to you from Dundas and Bathurst in the city of Toronto. I'm in a park adjacent to Dundas, is to the north of me, and Bathurst is to the west. So I'm in this location for a specific reason, because the parking behind you is going to be my home for the next foreseeable future. For you for those 17,000 viewers that have tuned in, and hopefully you're watching this, I've agreed to suspend my hunger strike based on the overwhelming response from people that are showing an incredible humanity towards myself and towards the issue and towards the injustice that I've been fighting. And I can't thank you enough, because along the way I didn't think that there was any humanity left in Canada, or even towards the issue itself. So that's encouraging. But what I'm trading it for are two things. One, it's merely the issue itself of hunger striking. It's really a suspension, because it now gives myself and you as supporters or people that tune in, that care, I'm asking you to join my fight. So King-Vaughan must have had some of your players, and Nicole Campbell in particular that spoke in that video. I know I've spoken to Tony Waiters with regards to former alumni that played in the Olympics and World Cup being supportive, and I appreciate that very much. And I'm asking you now to support me so I can galvanize millions of people across the world, and particularly in Canada, to begin to deal with, begin to look at substance addiction in a much different way. And in doing that, well, the way to do that is for Paul James to get justice. And so I'm suspending the hunger strike. I don't want to go through it again. This was absolutely hideous. I don't know whether you can see how thin I am. I don't want to take off my clothes again. Just because it's just a dreadful, hideous experience. And it's not mental illness that's doing it. It's just the conviction that I have that what's happened here is so wrong. And to know that it goes on with so many people, tens of thousands of people in Canada and around the world. I mean, look at my background. How can it be? I'm an average Canadian citizen. What happened to Rob Ford was a disgrace to humanity, and how he was dealt with the media. He's a human being that clearly had a substance issue, to a ruthless substance. But the answer to solving that is not to treat somebody like you treated Rob Ford, is not to treat somebody like you treat Paul James. And I'm talking about government, I'm talking about institutions. The difference between Rob Ford and myself is that Rob Ford, had he have been able to have lived and not experienced the cancer which in all likelihood was a consequence of substance use, but he's from a different socioeconomic bracket than myself. So his out in terms of employment, he was always going to be able to be employed. He had a great support network, which is one of the most significant social determinants of health and recovery. But I'm an average Canadian citizen, now below average. I'm at the bottom of the socioeconomic scale. Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I'm not even on the pyramid. So that's what needs to be. That's what I'm fighting for, is for average Canadian citizens that experience poor mental health, that don't know what to do, and if it's a substance addiction, no matter what substance it is, the out that you have is very difficult, and it's a social issue, not psychological, not biological, in terms of the neuroscience of the brain. You know, you got biopsychosocial. Biopsychosocial is a model, a correct model, very good model of judging somebody, or being able to assess somebody of where they're at in terms of their recovery, where they're at in terms of substance use, and how do you assist them. Well, the bio and the psycho, I'll leave that for another segment, but they're pretty straightforward, difficult to be able to achieve in terms of abstinence. But the social part of the biopsychosocial model, the social part, I have proven through my own case, is the most, it's almost impenetrable to live a normal life once you come forward with a substance use disorder, to be treated equally and fairly with dignity and respect. It's almost impossible. And that's got to change, because if it doesn't, then everybody suffers from economic burden, from non-improvement means that substance addiction is always going to be there, and it's likely going to get worse, because the younger generation are more exposed to it. Anyway, I want to keep this short. I don't want to get into the educational aspects. I just want to say a massive thank you to everybody that's tuned in. I encourage you, because now my circumstances is that I'm living on the street. I don't want to live on a couch anymore. I don't want to, as good as people have been, to offer me somewhere to, to live. I could go out. I'm going to try and go out now and try and prove to you how difficult it is for myself to get a job once people know what my background is. But I'm going to live on the street. I'm going to sleep in parks until this gets resolved. I will not take handouts from the government where they say I can get social housing, they can assist me to get social housing. No, social housing should be for somebody in a worse situation than myself in terms of education, in terms of maybe a physical disability, or who deal with other areas of disadvantage, and whether it's well, like I said, other areas of disadvantage. And I don't want to take disability payments. I should have been able to have, it should have been seamless. If we're a civilized society in Canada, then it should have been seamless. I came open. I should have got support from the institution that I was at, which is York University, and I should have continued my coaching career that I spent a lifetime. All I ever wanted to do from 1993 is to be a collegiate soccer coach, and the sacrifice I made at that time, I went to Le Moyne College in Syracuse, wonderful experience, brilliant people down there, but I made $5,000 a year for 2 years. Then I went to Niagara University again. Very difficult experience at Niagara, but I coached 2 teams in the NCAA Division I, worst in the country, both teams, and did it for $17,000 a year for 2 years. So I sacrificed so much because I wanted to be a full-time collegiate coach at some point, and during that period I finished my academic degree. So for 10 years later to then lose your position, and for it to be manipulated that I wanted to leave coaching, that I didn't want to coach anymore because of the health issue, is scapegoating what the reality is. And the reality is that York University didn't know what to do, and as a result of didn't know what to do, the best decision that they came up with was to remove me in whichever way that they thought was best. And in the end, they willfully or not, they discriminated against me in terms of doing that. And ever since then, the judicial system, even up to an MP the other day, which was absolutely disgusting, from the Liberal Party of all people. So imagine this, you viewers tuning in, and the comments that I've had, and even though it's tough for many people to get on to make comments themselves, 17,000 views and 5 comments. There's something wrong there. What that tells you is how stigmatized we are as a society on substance addictions, and particularly when you talk about crack cocaine. If you want to put 2 words together that paralyze people, you bring in crack and you bring in cocaine. It's the 2 worst words you can put together. It just paralyzes people, and yet it's when you understand what the substance is and what the drug is. And it's not to condone its use in any way. I absolutely don't condone. I don't condone drug use of any kind. Not cigarettes, not alcohol, not marijuana. But the reality is, one truth that I've come to understand in this is that the government, any government across the world, will never be able to legislate what a person puts into their body. Try, very unsuccessfully. And until that penny drops in the minds of our politicians, we're never going to get to square two in really improving the epidemic of substance addiction, the recovery of those, the discrimination and prejudice of people like myself that come open. You're never going to solve that problem. It's always going to be a burden, economically, socially, family-wise, the family dysfunction that happens as a result of people being untreated or not being treated properly from a healthcare perspective, and then on a personal interactions of somebody like myself, personal relationships in employment. It's the social aspect that is the worst experience. It's the stigma of it, and that's why I'm going to such dramatic lengths to. I should never have lost my job. I should never be in the position that I'm in. And as best you can, you politicians and the Liberal governments, I'm ashamed to have ever voted for you. How can you explain that Justin Trudeau would not have responded to the letter that I sent? You know, the inhumanity to not do that is dreadful. And Deb Schultz, who's an MP, a Liberal MP, I think you will rue the day that you made comments such as, what do I expect? And I deserve what my situation is today as a result of using. It was my choice to use. Your ignorance is astounding and appalling. And if an MP could be fired, you should be fired. First of all, you're on the ideological, political platform that you're against the war on drugs. Correct me if I'm wrong. If the Liberal Party is for the war on drugs, let me know. But I was under the assumption that the Liberal Party was against the war on drugs. Quite correctly. It's been a colossal failure, 100-year failure that got worse from the 70s on. So you explained to me those comments, Deb Schultz, that I deserve my situation. Yes, it was a choice. Yes, it's a choice. You know, to pick up a substance of use, but it was an impaired choice. Alcohol was the gateway drug for me to use. Crack cocaine originally. In other words, I was drunk, inebriated. You tell me how many citizens across Canada have not been inebriated. It will be a very small minority at some point in their life. And when you do that, unfortunately, there's a very small percentage of people that will use any drug that will become addicted. And as a result, we either discard them and treat them like they are disgraced prisoners, or we treat them with humanity. Well, your perspective with making those comments is that we treat them like prisoners, and we don't show any humanity towards them. I'm ashamed of those comments, and for you to say that I shouldn't have been coaching at York University anywhere, and that justifies them constructively dismissing me, is that you do more harm to the progress of $51 billion economic burden, first of all, of untreated mental health. We've sent back the progress on improving what substance addiction is by a generation, and you completely ignore what my circumstance and situation is. So Deb Schultz and Adam Vaughan and the Prime Minister is that how dare you legalize marijuana when we don't even have a social safety net in place to help people, the most vulnerable people. It's 45% of Canadians over a lifetime would have used an illicit drug. Now, what are you going to do? Is it a crime or not? Because if it's a crime, then you need to put half the population into prison. your prime minister, your leader of your party used marijuana when it was illegal, then if it's a legitimate crime, he should be put into jail, yes or no? So you can't have it all ways. You can't have half the population using an illicit drug and not putting them in jail, or not saying, well, that's not a crime. But it's a crime if you get to the stage of an addiction. Can you see the nonsense that it is? And for you to use that, Deb Schultz, against myself, if you would have read the letter to the Prime Minister, what kind of human being are you? And forgive me if I'm wrong here, like correct me, Deb Schultz, Adam Vaughan, Justin Trudeau. Is not the Liberal Party for average Canadian citizen? Don't you care about us as well? Isn't it about making sure, Justin Trudeau, as you said in the Omar Khadr case, that that the Charter of Rights, Canadian Charter of Rights, is that it's we can't pick and choose how those rights work. Well, under Section 15 of the Canadian Charter of Rights is mental disability, meaning that if you have a mental disability, that you're supposed to still be treated equally and fairly and not discriminated against, and to be treated with dignity and respect. Well, Deb Schultz, how can you assess those comments that you made to Pavan Musavat as treating myself with dignity and respect? The ignorance is appalling, but it's willful ignorance, because you're doing that to scapegoat me, as opposed because you as a Liberal government, you know, don't have the courage and the fortitude to be able to deal with the issue head on, because you know that there's injustice that's gone on, and the way that I've been treated is appalling. So while you talk about Omar Khadr as not being treated equally and fairly, and that his human rights have been infringed, then what about Paul James's rights, times hundreds of thousands of other Canadians that have got treated in the same way? Here's the reality that you don't want to accept, is that had Jen Myers and Sheila Forshaw and York University just allowed me to continue my job and afforded me every opportunity to be able to have got healthy, all this would not have happened. I would not have lived 8 years of a nightmare. I would not have lost everything. I would have still been able to have coached. The York women's team would have won more championships when they haven't won any since. And for you, Deb Schultz, to turn around and to say that I shouldn't be coaching, that you shouldn't be coaching, make that a law then. Turn around and let all Canadians know that if you have a substance addiction, you can never work again. Like, how dare you? Meanwhile, you have 17,000 people that are tuning in. You have former players getting on YouTube, you know, begging me to come off a hunger strike because they actually care. But the Liberal government, all you care about is a political position and to protect the elite status and the wealth of organizations. You don't want to rock that boat. Well, then how dare you? So this is where I'm at. I'm going from hunger strike, and I can take off my clothes and show you how thin I am. I've eaten over the last 24 hours a few things. I was sick originally, so I'm getting my energy back as I can feel it as I've talked through this YouTube. But I'm trading my hunger strike for living on the street. I will try and work. I will try and go do some dishwashing jobs, but I don't want to face the indignity anymore of being turned down, and I'm going to fight for justice. So you people, Nicole Campbell, Mike Pimentel, brilliant Mike, amazing guy. Appreciate the email, but I need your help now. Steph Fescio up in Ottawa, you said that you've touched base with the alumni. Well, let's get to work. So Nicole Campbell, and don't come to me again in September if I have to go back on another hunger strike. Don't come to me again and tell me to stop. Like, you know, people that turn around and say, well, he's back on a hunger strike, it's because I'm the reasonable one. I'm the one that turns around. The Canadian Soccer Association said they were gonna help and support, so I said, fine. This is a bargaining tool, because if you're an average Canadian citizen, you can't get justice in the judicial system unless you have money to pay for a top law firm. If you're on your own and you're self-represented, you can't get justice. Even if you're right, even if you're 100% right, they won't give you justice. That's why I'm hunger striking. It's not because of a willingness, not suicidal thoughts like that. If I wanted to commit suicide, I would have had plenty of times, 100 times over the last 8 years, to have been able to make that decision. That's not the case. Don't scapegoat it on that. This last hunger strike was absolutely It's a hideous process, and I don't want to die. And I'm waiting for Justin Trudeau to do something. So, by the way, Adam Vaughan, you said in that email, this is no way to resolve an issue. Well, I've spent 5 years trying to resolve this issue, but you can't have it always. So now I'm saying I'm off the hunger strike. Let's see what you do then. Now you need to address what I wrote about the circumstance. And to anybody that's listening from the Conservative Party, and any supporters that want to be a part of this and want to help me galvanize millions of other Canadians to not live in fear of coming open, and not to live in fear of a substance addiction. That if you come open, you won't lose your job. You'll be able to be treated with respect and equally. Then allow me to galvanize you. And I say we go to the Conservative Party now. I see the difference. You know, ideologically, I thought the Liberal Party were against the war on drugs. So I'm nervous about the Conservative Party with they need to loosen that up. Like, the war on drugs is a colossal failure, and if you don't think that way, then again, I use that thing with the dunce cap. You need to wear a dunce cap and do your research. That means you're lazy, you haven't done your research, you've been manipulated, you're malleable by other people and other nonsense that you read in the media. So the Conservative government, you need to loosen up on that war on drugs. You need to show humanity, but if you do, you get my support, and you get the support of all the supporters. We're going to contact you. I want you in the Conservative government to go after Justin Trudeau, to go after, how dare us. Like, I'm fine with legalizing marijuana, absolutely. All other substances should be decriminalized. The main substances, in my opinion, can't be legalized because they're too destructive on a physical level for people. So you can't legalize it, but you shouldn't criminalize. It's ridiculous to criminalize. How can it be a crime? Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. I've got lots to say. I hope you tune in. Conservatives, I'm going to approach you with a load of supporters very soon. I want you to go to the Liberal government and say, what's the social safety net for people? If we're legalizing here now, the availability of any substance will increase its use. There's unequivocal evidence that that's the case. So that means you're also going to increase the people that fall victim to addiction. It's a small minority of people, a very small minority. But why should that small minority, as a result of using a substance, then when they try and get healthy, get absolutely obliterated their lives? That can't happen. That social safety net, Liberals, where is it? Conservatives, hold their feet to the fire on that and make sure that they do the right thing, because right now, and it's through justice of Paul James that you can turn this around. Confront Justin Trudeau and say, why didn't you respond for a guy? I hate to say this, it's like watching The Making of a Murderer. You don't want to, the documentary about the guy that was wrongly imprisoned and still in prison. You don't want to accept what the reality is at the end. The reality of what those police must have done to put that guy in jail. What the reality is here is that the Liberal government were okay with Paul James dying. It took the public's opinion to be able to say, right, I'll suspend it then. But it's only in suspension. I'm living on the street, and therefore anybody viewing, stay tuned. I'm going to try and videotape some really interesting stuff now in some tough areas in Toronto, and just to see how we need to normalize this, and people that use any substance are just normal people, and that the overwhelming majority don't commit crimes. And don't turn around to me and say that using a substance is a crime. That's nonsense, absolute nonsense. Not 200 years ago could you prevent somebody from using a substance. Not 100 years ago, not today, and not in 500 years from now. Will you be able to stop a person putting a substance in their body? And until we accept that, as I said, we're not going to have the ultimate progress that you need to live in a healthier way, to live a better way with drugs or substances. Okay, I'm out of here. I appreciate the support so much. I'm going to get emotional if I keep going, but please keep tuning in, and I'll try and make it interesting for you, and I appreciate everything and the support. Bye.